here. DJ Sir Jam. Thursday night, doing my thing. Trying to keep it moving.
Yeah. This is Red WJBS Radio live with DJ Sir Jam. Jam, we appreciate what you do, brother. You always putting it down.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Don't forget, gang. June 13th, Night File Galleria. Second Fridays with WJBS Radio. And food provided by Drop Squad Kitchen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say abundance in the crew. Am I allowed to say abundance in the crew, sis?
We're the Drop Squad.
The Drop Squad.
Yeah.
I just love that name, abundance, and the crew.
We can be that too.
Right. But appreciate you listening. DJ Sir Jam, go on and take it out, brother. I'm gonna fade you. You want to do the big thing or no? Yeah.
Good, Nana. Thank you. Strong on the. You know what? I forgot to put the lemon juice in it. That's why.
My man. All right, give me a sound check. We'll do the sound check. No, you are there. He'll give me the Jam. Give me oh, never mind.
Recording now, Mom.
Okay. Yeah, I'm live already.
Jam, unplug me. Can you step this side? Sorry. No, you're right there. Stay right there. Unplug me.
7:59.
The silver. The silver John. All right, sweetie. Listen, I'm gonna have to come around you. Can you grab it?
Oh yeah, let me get out your.
No, it's all right. It's all right. As long as you can hand it to me.
Yes, this.
Yeah. That's all I need.
You stopped the recording?
Nope. Didn't even touch it.
You didn't turn it on?
Nope. Like a dummy. Did not.
8 o'clock. Wow.
New system. Didn't even turn it on. I love you, though, bro.
Yeah, man.
I love you, man. Give me a little sound when you get a chance. And is that ain't you? Huh?
No, it's not.
Yeah. That's you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Give me 1 second. So I'll shut this down and bring it back up. It's going to do this real quick. You ready when I go? No, give me 1 second. All right, ready when you are.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the slide, on the rise. Forget distractions, we unveiling the guys.
Your mics are still off. I'll hit you in 1 second. I usually just bring you in just these fading out.
Ain't trying to fly. This divine trophy will deal with the lies. From plans to provide. Take you out the mirage.
You got it, man. You want to do this, man?
What?
You.
So we take it back to the essence. Back when it wasn't lame to spread the lessons. 10% was scary, spit the message. Every form of truth was questioning, no guessing. Building a cipher, obsession, state of progression. Music was expression, troops giving the brethren. Break your bread in a second, even through the depression. We in the now, it's information. You tuned in live, so they can't go to the nation. Frequency high, got the good vibration. Delaware the location, worldwide the gates. We do for the youth, manifesting the change. One love, generation.
Isn't she lovely?
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to Abundancechild. Mic check, mic check.
You good?
All right, welcome to Abundancechild Live, episode 6,
Yeah.
Unapologetically Healthy. I am here with my husband and anchor.
Vocalist John Carr, H Star from another galaxy, H soldier of love, and I do mean love in all languages, y'all. Hooah, hooah.
Wow. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all the things that I posted, unapologetically healthy, and just understanding that's not talking about a diet. It's talking about a state of mind. It's talking about what you've done with your state of mind and how it manifests in this realm. Do you work out? Do you have community? Do you have loving relationships? Do you study? Do you develop your mind and things like that? It's all of those things. What is your relationship with source? That's all.
I love it.
How I came up with the brand Unapologetically Healthy. It is the lifestyle brand of Abundancechild. So I absolutely am my own guest. And I also have testimony. I have you here.
Yes.
So we're going to get into that later on. But really, I think it was a historical foundation for me. And let me stop. Where's my manners? Giving thanks and praises to Oludumare, giving thanks and praises to the Arumale, to the Orisha, giving thanks and praises to Onile, which we are in right now, giving thanks to my egg bag, giving thanks to my Ori, giving thanks to my Gungun. Don't forget the Beyond Juneteenth Festival, y'all, June 19th, 5 to 8 p.m. at the Delaware Art Museum. But I also want to give thanks and praises to all of your ancestors. And all of the ancestors of the people who made this station possible. I'm very, very thankful to have this opportunity. So yeah, let me get right back to it. Big ups to King Simon.
King Simon in the building.
Is that my sister? Hiya. So yeah, there's a historical foundation. It's funny. My daughter texted me today. She was like, "Mom, what was your major in school?" And I was like, communications and history with the emphasis on African and women's studies. And yeah, I got up out of there real quick and learned,
African and women's studies.
Yeah, so my main major was history, but then I switched it right before I went to Del State, and I switched it to communications. That's how I ended up in like the EH building all the time at Delaware State University. But yeah, I've been consistent with that. So the truth is that we have been miseducated, misinformed, and lied to about food and food pathways. We've been lied to about what our lineage is, and we've been lied to about who holds the power for centuries. And they've done it in like 4 primary ways. One of the first things that they did was control our perception of the past. And they try to make it look like they pretty much just revised all of our history. Number 2, they concealed that they've only been a global power. When I'm saying they, I'm talking to most of us who are in, the territory that's called the United States.
Right.
So they've hidden to us that, they haven't been around but for so long. So they made us feel like all of civilization started with Greek and Rome, and not really understanding that those were our people too.
Right.
I hear people all the time talking about, oh, you doing the Greek thing. Those were our people too.
We was everywhere.
Yeah. So they also erased the cataclysm of the 13th century that destroyed advanced civilizations. So nowadays, because we are in a precession of the equinox, which is changing from Pisces to Aquarius. Big ups to Ra'aku. And so that means that every 25,800 years, things shift. And so we are shifting from the age where there's a domination and control and religion and that type of thought to moving into a humanitarian phase. Who birthed humanity? Women did. So that's why the power is going to go back to, power is going back to the seat of women, or y'all need to figure it out, or we won't exist. And two about that.
I like that.
And 2, that the information age, that's what most people know Aquarian age. So that's why we have the age of social media and all this information is out there. So now we're seeing documents and we're seeing writing on the walls that said that there was an advanced civilization that existed prior to the one in Egypt. All right. And it's just stuff that we didn't learn about in textbooks, and we didn't learn about in mainstream consciousness. Not even when I was in All African People's Revolutionary Party at Clark Atlanta, I didn't know anything about South America being actually what we consider to be Africa. But that's all. But that's important and it's relevant to this topic because we don't know how to eat.
So you said that South America was a part of Africa?
No, I said it is Africa.
Oh.
And I started on that journey, Moorish Divine National Movement, real talk. So, yeah. So anyway, they also created. We already talked about. They created a fantasy about Greece, and they whitewashed a replacement for all the brown and so-called black empires. So that is really important. All the trafficking that we think about today, like they got us under this thing called enslavement, and we weren't enslaved. We were prisoners of war, and that whole paradigm shows up today. Because why are we even having a conversation about how we eat? We lived in communities and we lived in societies where elders played a prominent role, and it was their role to teach us and instruct us and show us how to do certain things. And a lot of those things were taken away, and now we're doing 9-to-5 jobs, and women aren't even built for that. Because we don't understand the moon cycles, we don't understand the sun cycles. So that's why I wanted to just talk about that. Yeah, and so it connects to how our food is today, because once we've gotten cut off from our spiritual power, then we're not tapped into our history, our historical power. And if you don't understand your history, then you don't understand why that food pyramid just does not make sense. And then you come up with silly questions like, oh my God, how do you get enough protein if you're a vegan? That just doesn't make sense, because if we understood the history of the people who gave us the diet, that the standard American diet, then we probably wouldn't have a lot of the questions that I posted today.
That makes sense.
It's got to make more than sense.
Gotta make more than sense.
So there's some I have a basic philosophy, and my philosophy is that South America is actually what people call Africa. That the our people that were over here, the Mesoamericans, traveled and traded with Egypt. That's why you find mummies and things like that with things that are indigenous to America. That's why even in ancient Odu Ifa, they're talking about corn. How are you talking about corn when corn is indigenous to America? Anybody wearing cotton and things like that is mostly, it's indigenous to America. So we have to talk about these. There's Jollof War, wars, but tomatoes are indigenous to America. So yeah, this is I'm really passionate about these things, and that's why I wanted to have this show, Unapologetically Healthy, because I believe that it is a state of mind. I also believe that they left a lot of inscriptions, and that the phenotypes that have been rebranded are actually foreign to us. So for example, they tried to say that we are a certain phenotype, but that phenotype might be foreign to people who are She, Olmec, Choctaw, Cherokee, Creek, Muskogee, Blackfoot, you know what I mean? Powhatan. And these are, I'm naming even different clans and things like that are in my actual bloodline, not because I took any DNA test. I haven't and I won't. It's because I've done my genealogy. And that's really important. That's even made me think differently about what soul food is. Soul food is very sacred to me, right? So let's get into, for example, a lot of people, our people, have an inclination towards pork. Well, in Odu Ifa, or in Ifa cosmology, the Iyami love that. And it just made me realize when I went back to our family reunions in the Carolinas, I always saw a whole hog, right? A whole hog being roasted. But that hog came from our land and on our farm. Nobody went and just bought a hog.
No additives.
No, it wasn't even about the additives. It's the fact that we prayed over that land. It's the fact that we had mores and values. And even though it was in a church, it was a spiritual part of eating and growing and farming, and all of that is very crucial. That's why a lot of the foods that we even think that are good right now are not good. It's because of the way that they're grown. It's not that chickpeas aren't good for you. It's the way that chickpeas are grown, right? So bringing it back to what I was talking about, people have an inclination for pork because they might have something in their bloodline that they haven't done ebo or sacrifice for. Because if we are here, we're here for some karmic reason,
Right.
or we're here because we are here to observe, or we're here to teach. It's probably one of those things. And most of us here are because of karmic reasons. And so based off of the law of correspondence, based off of Ifa cosmology and what I know, like attracts like.
Mhm.
So if I need to heal, and that's why we did the generational assignments,
Right.
I'm going to come to a family that has that same assignment.
Right.
And you're going to keep having that assignment until you get it right. How many generations have to go through molestation? How many generations have to have children out of wedlock? How many generations do we have to go before we don't have community? How many generations do we have to go through before we have our own institutions? We cry about there are no institutions in our neighborhood, but how many generations do we
Right.
have to do that? So we go back a few generations, and I would, I've been on this Cicely Tyson kid, and I'm watching her doing a sit down and demanding that people give her a cup of coffee with cream and sugar and demand that her grandson has some. Why didn't you demand that we open up
Right.
our own and be okay with that? Why? Because we were under that whole guise of we were slaves and things like that. So I just really feel like that's important. And I also think, just for the record, that ancient America is not Tartaria or Egypt. We were our own empire. All right. And that's why I'm so thankful for this age. I'm so thankful to be born in this age.
Right.
My Ori must have known it, because I needed to be able to just keep pulling from all of these various different, scholars and things like that. Yes.
That makes sense.
I'm checking out the chat, y'all, so that's why I'm taking a breath there real quick. But yeah, thank you for tuning to Abundance Child Live. Tonight we're talking about unapologetically healthy. I led with the fact that it's all a state of mind. So trying to go into a little just basic understanding of my understanding
Right.
of history. And I think it's also a scientific miseducation and weaponized wellness. So they taught us nutrition like people teach religion. I also feel like they told us that plants are harmless and meat is evil. Like, this is the new paradigm that we're going with right now, like with veganism and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we feed on food primarily as plant-based people, or people who claim the vegan diet with nitrogen-rich diets. All right, so that's the fast food. That is the food that has that we make in our own kitchens, that are, the vegan, what they call the vegan junk food and stuff like that. They've glorified kale, they've glorified spinach. Now we got this whole thing back. I see people eating raw collard greens, like our ancestors didn't know that if you're gonna have collard greens, you're gonna have kale. You need to cook that stuff down,
Yeah.
right? Because we don't have the proper enzymes to be able to digest those things. And all those things are what you call goitrogens that damage your thyroid. That's why a lot of people, if you notice, I've told people if they have a thyroid issue, I'll be like, don't, stay away from the cruciferous vegetables. Don't be eating kale and collards and all that. And if you're gonna have it, then you should cook it. They told us that sea moss has 92 minerals. You know what I mean? It's just it does not have 92 minerals. Listen, actually, I didn't come up, sea moss does not have 92 minerals, and I'm gonna have to give it up to, used to be known as Dr. Ali Muhammad, but my brother Amaru, Nama Taga Shi Ali, most of my information comes from myself, obviously, self-study, but rolling with him and Minister Iki. Like, I learned so much. And for a fact, Nana, that I didn't just take the information. I studied and I studied and I studied. And that's why I have all of their books to this day in Drop Squad. But yeah, they made mushrooms really trendy. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, there's this Italian brother, Italian guy. I call everybody brother and sister. So, and he talks about how fungus is a cancer, but so was it fungus and pathogens cause cancer, are the main reasons for cancer. It's not like viruses and stuff like that. But mushrooms are a fungus.
Right.
So if we ever get to that question, I'll talk about the types of mushrooms that I think people should be able to have. And I'll just say now, like shiitake, portobello, lion's mane, things like that. Those are the mushrooms. If you're going to have mushrooms, have those, and the other kind of mushrooms, the magic mushrooms.
Is there one that's better than the other?
those mushrooms that I just mentioned, the ones that we eat.
Okay.
Yeah. And we eat it, and we don't eat it all the time, but it's kind of like when we buy in bulk, because that's what we do as a community. If there's any left over from what the people are not purchasing, that's when I'll be like, let's take this and add. We have an abundance of red peppers, and we have an abundance of thyme and garlic and stuff like that. And I'll just go ahead and make like a plantain stew. We stew it out. We stew it out all the time.
Right.
So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm having fun here, and just was, basically going through the history, going through how they used our nutrition as a weapon against us. They made it into be like a real religion. And then you have this new movement of people that are talking about veganism. And when I came up, it was vegetarian. I didn't even hear vegan until recently. I was like, nah, I'm vegetarian. Like, nah, vegetarian are the people who eat eggs. And so vegan is a new thing, by the way, right? And just for the records, since we're in the beginning of the show, just in case people don't make it to the end, I don't believe that everybody should have a plant-based lifestyle. I absolutely do not. I definitely don't think the raw vegan lifestyle is the best for you. And I definitely think that people got hoodwinked when they talked about the alkaline diet and stuff like that. And I think it's because we're not in our own kitchen laboratories testing these things, and we're not using our body as a barometer, which is what Dr. Sabi said. I also don't believe in eat right for your type and all of that type of stuff. And I am following my brother Amaru's lead, and I'm also following Dr. Sabi's lead on that. So, I think that when we need to get more back to our spiritual foundations, and that's where Ori leads us, because I know in Ifa you can be initiated to Ifa, and it's absolutely okay if it's not a taboo for you also to practice Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, or Christianity. But Ifa will also say, like, for a person like me, you are absolutely not supposed to be dealing with such and such,
right?
And you're just supposed to honor your taboos. It happens to be my Odu when Islam came into the world. So that's why I think that I was always into Islam. Like I'm always interested in that cosmology. And I really held on to the cosmology when I read Mami Wata in the Sibyl's book by Dr. Mama Zogbe, when she gives a great historicity on how mother has showed up in all of these religions and in all of our in the world, period, globally. And when I found out how Islam really was, well, I knew this before, but people always said Allah was a woman and stuff like that. But she really broke it down. She just really broke it down. So I don't want to get off topic. I just want to say that it's really important to have a relationship with your spirit, because if you don't have a relationship with your spirit, then you will fall for anything. You'll go to the newest trend. You'll, like right now, I'm dealing, in the house, I've been like, man, I'm my weight, but I also know that I haven't cycled. And so it's going to take time. And so I'm having patience with myself. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to go live, because I didn't want people to doubt me. Even though I know I've cured people from diabetes, fibroids, APL, leukemia, losing people who needed to lose weight, all those types of things based off of the things that I'm saying. And I didn't want to be judged, because I saw one comment one time when I was on Sanetta's show, and I can't even believe, like, back then that somebody thought, I was obese. I was like, wow, I'm like obese at 145. So, yeah. I don't care about that stuff right now. I'm very happy about where I am, because I'm actually happy and full joy in my relationship, in my life, and all of those things. But I know these things that I'm saying are absolutely true, in that it takes time. And one of the reasons why people get sick when they switch diets and they try to have these, what they consider like a high functional, holy, sacred diet, because somebody's pushing that agenda, they're not doing appropriate fast, and they haven't checked in with their Ori with exactly what they're supposed to do. When I say checking with your Ori, we talking about the Ka, we talking about the Ba, we talking about the Ori could be found in every major religion. We're talking about your higher self. We're talking about that part of you that is connected to the Most High. So when you fast, that's the one thing that most religions talk about, or most spiritualities talk about. Your parasites will start speaking through you, because they're real energies. When you detox, The voices that you hear, you know this, when you do water fasts and stuff like that, they're not going to be of your own. Where are they coming from? Where's not you're not so much concerned about where they coming from. I just learned from Sister Ayala Kamare on one of her Ishe spirituality. I'm in this book club. She was like, well, that's ego. And that's that part of you that exists because it wants to control things. So just deliver the message. So listen to those voices when you're fasting. The cravings, get quiet.
Right.
Because you are starving them. Your dreams sharpen because you're showing up in other dimensions and things like that. And it's like a television, it's like a movie. You can see certain things and then your decisions align with destiny. So that's why your destiny. And that's why it's really important to be unapologetically healthy. So now it's coming back. Like I said, we're going into the age of Aquarius. For the audience that I'm mostly speaking to, we're melanin. That means we're knowing. That means that we come from source. That means we have the power. And that means that we have a map. So let me take a quick commercial break. And I want to get back and get to some of these questions that I posted.
I can't wait because I need some clarification for myself.
Do you really?
Yes,
bro.
But this is something that's always been, in my mind.
Don't worry, I know y'all don't hear it.
No, I know that's
yeah. I know you don't hear it in here, but it's just to keep the feedback down, so we keep the volume.
Just a quick feedback. John, just remember you're on camera. So try to smile and remember the camera and engage too.
Well, there's a camera here and I'm live, so that's where I'm at. That's why I was saying you might want to go lower. That's why I always have that camera lower.
We got about another 30 seconds, right? That's not yeah.
Y'all heard it right here on Abundancechild Live. Get at King Simon.
King Simon.
Yes, King 47. King 47. Y'all know who I'm talking about. So, yeah, we're back here talking about Unapologetically Healthy. And of course, this is my show, so I am giving my public service opinions about why we have gone off the path and why we even have to have brands called Unapologetically Healthy or vegan or any of those types of things. My sister, Haya, said that she's going back to calling herself vegetarian. I love that. And in fact, I'm going back to not calling myself anything. You know what I mean? Like, I eat what I eat. And I've been telling a lot of people, I love cooking vegan food. However, I am not plant-based. No, I have not eaten any chicken, any fish, any beef, any pork, or any of that type of stuff. But I love my Adidas. You know what I mean? I have a big brown, huge leather sectional. You know what I'm saying? And I don't go overboard about it, but I do love the leather seats in my car.
Right.
I'm just being honest.
Right.
And I was raised up with Baba Nasi and Mama Tassili Ma'at, and they were the first to be like, yeah, we don't wear leather. And I respect it, and I did it for a long time. But I realized that's not why I came into this movement. And I say it over and over again. The people who claim to be vegan treat animals better than they treat us, period. So I can't even be on that type of time, and my Ori is not aligned with that. So I'm also part of a way of life where we believe in Ebo and sacrifice. And it means that if I want to do better for my lineage right now, and my ancestors said we need a pig, well, then they're going to get a pig. Right. Because it might be the ancestors that were speaking from a time where that's where we ate. Right. Now, I don't personally eat it, and I give thanks for that. But again, I can't stop remembering how I went to family reunions and I saw the whole roasted pig. And in most indigenous cultures where they do honor sacrifices, which original Islam did, Judaism did. In fact, all of these religions did. What they went and did is they made everything philosophical, and they took out the divination, they took out the oracle, they took out the mama, and they took out the sacrifice. And that's real talk. We hear burnt sacrifices all the time. So now, we're in the age of grace with the New Testament. So y'all believe in human sacrifice. So God just sacrificed his son on a cross. and showed it to the world, and y'all wear it. So I can't get down with any of that type
Right.
of stuff. We sacrifice. People go to Popeyes, Kentucky Fried Chicken all the time. People eating meat all the time, talking about animal sacrifices, this and that. But what I see in Aboriginal indigenous cultures who still do that, and I've been there, so I'm not just speaking from my head. I watched how a goat was sacrificed and then they ate the goat. I didn't eat the goat, but I watched it, and I watched how the fur and everything was used as a mat. Like every single piece,
Wow.
bones and stuff like that was used for medicine or for throwing. Like every piece of the animal was used, and that animal was prayed over.
Right.
And it's halal.
Right.
So I can't really get into this new thing that, you know, people are pushing for likes and for money. And I feel like every show that we do is about survival. And we really need to look into what is being unapologetically healthy. Unapologetically healthy, as I said earlier, means marriage, partnerships, man and woman. It looks like families coming together. It looks like community. It looks like we buy a case of tomatoes, we buy a case of potatoes, yams, greens, all of these things, right?
Right.
And thankfully, we're able to eat off of that. But I know that my mom also comes and buys off of that. She does not need to shop. So if we were really more of a community, all the people on Facebook, maybe I should do that. Everybody who has a restaurant depot card, raise your hand. Everybody who has a restaurant store card, raise your hand. We're getting into that season where everybody's doing festivals and things like that. Please stop going to Target to get your stuff. You know, why don't you just let us buy a case? Or, you know, I got beyond Juneteenth. You know, you have a family reunion. You know, you have such and such. Let's buy that $40 case of those 2,000 worth of those eco boxes that we have and split it up. To me, that's what community looks like, right? But nobody's putting a gun to our head and making us eat things that don't allow us, eating dead flesh and stuff like that, that don't allow us to, and I know it sounds contradictory, but let's say eating dead flesh that we haven't prayed over, and that's not in alignment with our body, right? Right, because everybody's not O positive,
Right.
You know, everybody's not O negative. So did things come from. Like there's a lot of cheap stuff that are faux leather and stuff, but they weren't made here.
Mm.
And I am somebody that's actually big because I want my brothers and sisters to have access to work. So I would rather buy something that was made in the US versus made in China. All right. So unless I will buy stuff that was made in China if I met a Chinese person and or I bought stuff from Nigeria, I bought stuff from places that I went and I want authentic things, but I don't want my dishes to be from China. I want them to be from Freedom Ali, Mama Jenny's daughter.
Right.
And those are the things that we drink out
Right.
of. So I like supporting in that way. So I hope that did I clear that up?
Yeah, you
Vegan is no things that doesn't have any plant-based, doesn't have any animal
Animals,
derivatives,
yeah.
but the lifestyle is the same way.
Mhm.
But you can have a vegan diet, but not necessarily have a vegan lifestyle.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is it expensive to be vegan?
It's expensive to not be healthy.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so I think that it's expensive to not be primarily plant-based.
Hmm.
As I've said before, most cancers and things like that are a lack of vitamins, a lack of minerals. As I've learned, you get sick from parasites and pathogens and things like that. So one way to get rid of those things is to increase your hydration, to increase your electricity in your body, increase your alkalinity in your body. And that is through plants. Because a lot of the water that we drink is not actually water, or it's been in plastic. And so you're drinking a lot of plastic. You don't know how long that water was in that water bottle sitting
Right.
on the truck somewhere. Right. We don't know. Has anybody even seen the source of some of our favorite water? Anybody been to that source where they actually are bottling up Fiji and all that type of stuff? So you can get most of your hydration from eating plants. Another question was, what do I buy at a regular grocery store? I buy things like rice, beans from a regular grocery store. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I buy nuts from there when I'm not able to go to places and get them in bulk, or when I find that, right now, I'll get my cashews from the Restaurant Depot, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, raisins, because I can buy a bag this size for like $19. Mm-hmm. But this size for a half a gallon of cashews at Wegmans is like $20-something, or it could be $14. So I will travel to get the produce. I love we were talking about this with somebody on the Moore's Culture Center. We were talking about, I love Jersey corn. I love it this season when you can go and on the side of the road and see the people with their tomatoes, and tomatoes that are regular size, look ugly, and taste just like tomatoes used to taste in the 80s. Right? So, but I'm going to go into all the different types of foods that I buy. So I have a list here of where I get things. I try to write everything out. And where is it?
And this is a list of foods that you personally purchase.
Yeah, but I tried to answer all my questions, but you see this is 16 pages. I just kept writing and writing and writing. So at a regular grocery store, I will go between, in the Northeast, we have like ShopRite, Aldi, Sprouts, Whole Foods, and Wegmans. Food Lion. I find Food Lions to be very cheap, and they have the same rice, jasmine rice, and things like that. But at the restaurant store, and this is Restaurant Depot, this is what I'm saying, I get that big thing of wild rice. That wild rice is like $34, $35, $36. But Brother David has come and got some of that rice. Like, you just got to have community,
right?
Because we can't eat that much rice unless we're doing an event,
right?
So that's why in the wintertime we were making a lot of heal thyself soup because that's got the wild rice and the celery and the carrots. It's a vegan chicken soup, but made with wild rice. And that wild rice doesn't get mushy.
Right.
So I'm not going to get that wild rice from an Acme or a regular grocery store because it's going to cost like $6-7 for only like 8 ounces, and 8 ounces is only a cup. And we are a family of 5.
Right.
I'm not doing that. So to answer my question is I buy bulk when I can. And I think it's really important for people to have community, and somebody has a BJ's card or a Sam's card or a Costco card. Or you can go online and say, hey, I want to buy in bulk from Amazon. All right. There are beautiful places that are growing great wild rice, and all of these things that we're talking about, you can find these things on Amazon and buy them in bulk. Like, we do better because we love nutritional yeast in our household. We do better when we buy the 10-pound pails. It lasts forever. If we're going to do Vital Wheat gluten, we do better when we buy 25-pound bags. What? If you notice, I bought a big thing of flour. I bought a 25-pound. So we get everything in 25 pounds, y'all. That's why it's crucial for y'all to sign up to the mothership.mn.co. We have a front porch produce, which means that whenever you place your order, if you need tomatoes, cucumbers, mushrooms, I'm talking about the most beautiful, prettiest oyster mushrooms. You can get, when we can get chicken of the woods mushrooms, like all of these types of things, the shiitake mushrooms, we buy them in bulk. Thyme, we get everything in bulk.
Yes.
Cilantro, we get it in bulk. What other things do we buy in bulk? Mint, we get it in bulk. And ideally, we want to be growing our own things, but not when we're living in, not in this situation. We are growing some things, some herbs and things. And then we have a sister who's coming up tomorrow, and she's going to be showing how she's growing all of these things that we're talking about.
Yes.
So we can get them right from the family, the Buchanan family farms, right in Baltimore. Black owned. Sister owned. Her and Solomon do my nephew. He's only 10 years old. They're doing all the work. So you could buy regular stuff at the grocery store, your honey, your coconut oil, your sea salts. But if you're really serious about health, then buy in bulk. I love going to farmers market to remember I found cold pressed extra virgin coconut oil at the farmers market.
Yeah, listen.
A 32-ounce jar for $5. I bought them all.
She was like,
yes. So, you just got to be smart about that. I don't like buying produce from like ShopRite. So if you go to places like a Produce Junction, for the same price, you'll get this much, and the kale is dirty. I love that. The kale is dirty. You've got to wash it. I'd be like, what is this kale that you get? And it's like $1.59, but you're only getting 4 or 5 leaves. And I figured it out. For every single Marley salad, it's a pint of kale, which is 6 leaves of kale, which is pretty much a whole bunch of kale at Sprouts, ShopRites. Wegmans has not Wegmans, but Sprouts has the best. I think the best, conventional, and the best organic for the amount. And plus they have the bulk section. So you get your salt, you can get your rice, you can get all these things in bulk. You can get nutritional yeast, but be careful because that organic nutritional yeast does not taste nothing like the regular nutritional yeast. Is there any other questions that, interested you?
You said the organic nutritional yeast doesn't taste.
You keep trying to make us use that pail of nutritional yeast in the basement, and I'm like,
I'm trying to.
So nutritional yeast can be made in a few different ways. And the way that one was made, which is not made with the beets, that yeast that they're getting is just nasty. And I can't even explain what that taste is.
That's what I'm trying to remember.
You can't remember because we immediately was like, no, and threw it away. It looks dark. It looks like Dijon mustard.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love Dijon mustard.
Well, it doesn't taste like that. It tastes like the way mold smells.
Oh.
Do you have any other questions,
yes,
John?
The protein thing. How do I get enough protein?
Our body is full of amino acids. All right. So you can use hemp seeds, Brazil nuts, fonio, soaked almonds. If you're not vegan, eat things like, I got this from my brother again. He talks about eating bison and wild fish. All right. But if you're plant-based, your main source, everything has protein in it. That's just the bottom line. Everything has protein in it. And I actually really want people to stop saying, and a gorilla, look at a gorilla, they're vegan. Well, after so many years and years, they were able to have that diet. We're not gorillas. So stop comparing us to apes and stuff like that when it comes to protein, or these huge animals like elephants that don't eat meat. They've adapted to be able to do that.
Right.
We can't even adapt to the fact that we're not black. So any other questions?
Yes. Who was I talking to? I think it was a client, and it's very it's real that you have this question. So what about people who become vegan and get sick? Why is that?
Because they tried to jump into what I said earlier. They think it's a high, holy, and sacred diet, and they didn't stop to do any parasite cleanse. They didn't cleanse their colon. They didn't cleanse their liver. They didn't cleanse they didn't detox, their kidneys or anything like that. They didn't do any type of fast. And they just put vegan foods into a nasty, dirty, filthy body. And nasty, dirty, filthy body based off the nasty, dirty, filthy mind that's not wrapped around why they're actually here on this earth, because they didn't initiate to EFI. No, I'm just kidding. Because they did it. Because no, they don't have mindfulness. Think about how long it took for us, and we followed behind every single thing that our parents, how we were raised. So most of us raised in the church, we went to the church. Most of us raised in the mosque, we go to the mosque. And some of us thought that we rebelled and left the church and went to the mosque, and we went to the same type of prison. And when did we get really mindful? When do we listen to our body? Like I'm telling you right now, I'm listening to my body and I'm like, what is going on with my hormones? I'm dreaming more. I'm more empathetic. Like I am more prophetic. I am getting visions all the time. Like I'm knowing when people are dying. I'm knowing when pets are dying. And I'm holding all this weight. And my daughter keeps saying to me, Mom, observe, don't absorb. So now I'm trying to learn how to stop holding on to stuff, because I think energetically I've been holding on to stuff. And when you stop cycling, you don't have, when you stop cycling in the way that, most women cycle, where they might hemorrhage for a couple days, there's a release. I haven't learned how to have that release without that. And I have, because I'm not walking around upset. I'm not having hot flashes or anything. I think it's the plant-based diet, by the way, but I am just trying to figure it out and being okay and knowing I'm in a perfect space every time I'm, trying to figure it out. And I am. Anybody who would like to let me know about people who are authorities and like perimenopause, like I don't believe in all that stuff either. So I don't even like saying those words, because I believe that unhealthy people have those kind of have unhealthy menstrual cycles and have unhealthy they have menopause. They go through menopause. And I feel like there's a certain natural cycle that we have to go through, but I don't think it has to look like what standard Western people are calling menopause. So I am experiencing the weight gain, but I also haven't worked out the same way I used to, because of what do you call that? When you hurt yourself.
Car accident?
No, car accident. Yeah. So that's one thing. And I know that, but I'm somebody who, was always in the gym or always on the mat. Any other questions?
Yeah, the people you talked about, I can answer that question too. That you healed from cancer, APL. How are they doing today?
My mom looks great. Doesn't she look great?
Yeah, I feel great too.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, my husband was diagnosed in November, and we used our mind and we visualized, and from the first day he went into the emergency room, I said, oh, this is a reset. This is our honeymoon. We on vacation. I was like, look at these people coming and bringing us, checking your pulse and everything.
Providing us with the ultimate service.
Yeah, and when we didn't get to have, we always have like right now, everybody's sitting around us.
Right.
This was our first time where it was really just us. And we literally every day at a certain time stopped and prayed to,
Yep.
we prayed every single day at the same exact time,
Same
put a
exact
sign
time.
at the door
Yep.
and was like, listen, at this time we need to pray, we need to focus. And I'm like, okay.
No interruptions.
I had my little sprays, you know what I'm saying? It was because you can't burn sage and stuff in there. So I had the rose water, I had the sage. Anytime people were coming in there, any funky energy, I'm spraying the whole thing down. I'm cleansing. I'm on my hands and knees. I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing the floor in a hotel. I keep calling it a hotel room because that's what it felt like. And we had the tea light LED candles going, and I had brought his pictures of his ancestors in and had water bowls in there.
Yes.
And we had the music going and we visualized. And I said, listen, we're going to visualize this doctor coming in here saying you are cancer free. And every single day I packed breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks and made it from scratch. Fresh pressed juices, salads.
Yes.
We didn't do all raw like everybody said that we need to do, because I also study Chinese traditional medicine and stuff like that. I love going to get acupuncture and things. And I've learned a lot from just understanding the elements.
Right.
And understanding the elements because I understand the Orisha.
Right.
So that helped me to heal you, because I was like, wait a minute. They're saying, he needs to be on a neutropenic diet. He can't have anything that's raw. But they were giving him like blocks of tofu with nasty,
just uncooked.
uncooked with barbecue sauce and stuff on it, or they would smash the tofu and put some turmeric and some parsley in there, and I'm like, this is really just crazy. So I fresh pressed juice, all the herbs. They were in there checking all the herbs. He shouldn't be having this stuff. He shouldn't be having that. Yes, ma'am.
They even try to take me off of fruit.
Yes, ma'am. And so I did my research. I could feel him. I could touch him. I could look at his eyes because I learned iridology from Dr. Layala Africa. Mm-hmm. And I just went to work and we did our meditations. And within 40 days,
we was out of there.
So I've been writing it, the 40 days and 40 nights to heal my husband. And I recorded and documented every single thing that I did. But it really was supplementing him with herbs. Mm-hmm. For example, let's just give them an example. They try to put you on steroids. Yeah. And I was like, okay. I started. We haven't drank it since because it was just overdone. I started giving you like licorice and stuff like that. Goodness. You're like, what is this? And so everything that they were saying, I would find out the remedy. And this is another thing that I like is being able to have tools and resources like divination. Right. So you could be like, is this the right thing? Right. And being able to go to Babalu Aye and be like, yes, and you're fine. But even before I gave you anything, it was all state of mind. Yes. I was like, look here, you dealing with an issue of the blood. And how come your red blood cells is not acting right and you have an increase of white blood cells? And so I was like, this is an ancestor energy. Right. This is an Ogun energy, because Ogun is like when we say that we were doing a reset, meaning that you have to do something every single day to improve himself, to reset so that he can now make medicine. And now listen, we have medicine for you. That is Ogun energy. Mm-hmm. Ogun is not just the war and all of that type of stuff. You cannot talk about creation without talking about Ogun. Yeah. So we had to reset. We had to become creators that we know that we are. We had to tap into our mind, get out of the third dimension and get into the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, as far as that we could go. Right. And see ourselves not only here, but in next lifetimes. Right. And we did that. And I'm telling you, the other stuff just flows. Like there wasn't no looking in Chat GPT. Right. We had everything that we need. And that is when I realized that I really am unapologetically healthy. Right. That really is my brand. I'm so thankful that
I agree. 100%.
Yeah, it just made me realize, like, oh my God, what if I was still in Drop Squad kitchen and you had got sick? Like, there's just no way I would have been able to give him the time and attention, and we would have we probably would have got kicked out of the riverfront instead of being able to like, okay, we've had enough. So I realized that my calling was not so much just to be flipping and making the best V steaks and stuff like that for people, but was to be in the community and teach. And so now the primary things that I do are catering,
Right.
personal chef things, working with children, being in the school system, stuff like that, and being able to do what I'm doing now, which is use my voice to share what it is that
Your power is within your voice.
and I will never let anyone silence
It was
me.
amazing. It was wonderful to have the experience of the nurses coming to you, wanting to get your information. You know what I'm saying?
Like, we need
even-
drug squad at the
Even
hospital.
the doctor, yeah. Even
Oh,
the doctor,
he was impressed.
he was like, "How did you know that?"
this stuff. How she wanted to know, how did I diagnose him before they gave the diagnosis?
Because they spend a lot of time trying, not knowing, just
Aoife.
trying to figure it out.
If I no lie.
Like, we don't understand what's going on right now. And she was like, "Well, this is X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z."
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
So yeah, that brought me back to my calling, y'all, which is the unapologetically healthy calling. And I want everybody to know that we all are healing,
Yes.
or we wouldn't be here. We all have a belly button. So as I said, I've been dealing with the weight issue and just having to love myself through it and be like, you're still beautiful and
No,
it's
you are.
okay. And you are mature enough to handle somebody like, how's she talking about healing somebody?
Right.
I'm like, because it's my turn to heal
Right.
right now.
Right.
It's absolutely my turn to heal. So my healing looks like welcome to Abundancechild Live on WJBS Radio. We go live on every Thursday, and it is 3 minutes before the hour.
3 minutes before
I gotta
the
get
hour.
I gotta get through these questions. What's the best milk, cheese, or egg substitute? Coconut milk, Brazil milk, nut milk, hemp milk. Always want to soak your nuts, and then you want to blend them, and you can add like sea salt. If you add sea salt and lemon to it, I always say lemon and nuts make cheese. Okay. But you can also change the profile and you can add your dates in, or you can add any of your good sweeteners. Like, I love date sugar. I like making my own date syrup. I love honey. Manuka honey is the best. You want to stay away from honeys that have stingers, that was made like with the stingers. You want to what else is good? Monk fruit. Stay away from stevia because that just, it's just not good for you. All right. What else? What was another question we catch? How do I deal with cravings for meat and sugar? You don't. You cleanse them until they leave. You know what I mean? It's kind of like certain people. They say stay away from all certain things. It's the same thing. You don't. You cleanse them until they leave. It's the parasites that are making you crave the meat, the dairy, and the sugar anyway. So some of the things that we use on the daily in our household is like black walnut, palo de arco, and papaya seeds. I can't stand when he come around with that little spoonful and you know what I'm saying? And be like with the little seeds, and swallow them. Don't chew them up. Yeah. Also, there's certain types of herbs and things like that where a lot of people want sea moss. You really need like dulse and kelp and stuff like that. If you are sick, stop taking sea moss. Sea moss is for people who are healthy. All right. We listening to a lot of people who be like, oh yeah, I studied from Dr. Sebi. You've never even met Dr. Sebi. You know what I mean? You never even met Dr. Lila Africa. You never even had a word. You just following videos and stuff like that.
Right.
And you actually haven't even done the diet to know whether it works for you or not. But I'm telling you, sea moss is for people who is healthy. You don't give sea moss to an APL patient. You know what I mean? Not the same kind that you had.
Right.
All right. So, can I be vegan while pregnant or breastfeeding? Yes, but not if you're already malnourished. Don't get pregnant and all of a sudden be like, I'm going to switch to vegan. All right, that baby's going to tell you what you need, and that baby's going to cleanse out everything for you anyway. So, just that's why I'm saying I probably got to do more of these types of shows, because I'm trying to hit a whole lot of stuff. And what I'm not even going to do a part 2. I think I need to make each question into a show.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to be eating like frozen kale and soy yogurt and fake meat if you're pregnant. Like, you don't want to eat Beyond Meat and Impossible Burgers and all that type of stuff. Whatever I do if I can't get my family on board. That's why I say community is important.
Right.
You will lower your stress and lower the ability to get more diseases if we actually had natural families. Families should be on board because this should be our lineage diet. Whatever diet you have should be the lineage diet.
Right.
It shouldn't be based off of trauma because of what we grew up with and what we see on TV, or because we have to get rid of generational curses. We should be healing those types of things. So what I do is get the family all in the kitchen. Everybody's in the kitchen. Mimi's in the kitchen, Makai's in the kitchen, Nana's in the kitchen, John's in the kitchen, I'm in the kitchen. And when you do that, then people get to make things that they like. They get to experiment where they be like, I don't like Brussels sprouts, so you're going to love these because I made General style Brussels sprouts. I didn't even know that I could like Brussels sprouts that way, right? But you got to make your kitchen into a sanctuary and a temple, and for the children, make it into a laboratory. And for goodness sake, get people's hands in the food.
Yes.
Eat with your hands in the food. You'll probably lose weight by eating with your hands. Yeah. It will make a difference because your hands are talking to your ori. That's why a lot of indigenous cultures do that and sit closer to the earth. It's okay. And when you eat. Don't always have the TV on. Don't always be in front of the computer. Be mindful of that. Same way when you go to sleep. That's why I said unapologetically is a whole thing. Should I eat right for my type? I covered that. How do I make veganism work in a food desert? You become the oasis. You grow your own food. You start a co-op. You get involved with community and things like that. Delaware was definitely a food desert. And then there was Drop Squad Kitchen. So it's been Abundancechild Live. Thank you all for listening and thank you for tuning in. Does blood type play into the way we should eat? No, I covered that. And I hope that I answered your question. But I'm going to get into the next ones, I promise, next Thursday. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Thank you. It's my song. Oh, okay, because we can't hear it. Thank you. Like they need to hear what she's saying. So rock the MC. Yeah, you know me. Positivity.
Break is over. Time to hustle harder because the planet getting older.
What?
Pole shift positions now the climate getting colder. Politicians trick you with their bluff and Texas hold 'em. But I'm not ending up because mama told me never fold 'em. Golden, never doubt the mission because I'm chosen. Universal chosen, big charging like a chosen. Fluid while they frozen, natural while they posing. Standing on my square with my third eye open. Abundance, child of the leaders. Sound waves fine tune the waking up the sleepers. Want more? Here I am, the gatekeeper, great teacher, sovereign on the land. Ocean with a fan, fighter for her people with a weapon at a hand. Put you and your plan with a proper Islam. Make your mans understand that the master holds a plan. And we coming with demands because it's time to stop playing.
Stop playing.
Stop playing. That's what I'm saying.
Chief Alchemist, Drop Squad Kitchen. You know we the freshest. Get your body, mind, spirit on point with these veggies. Just by any greens necessary. You ain't know. That's why the chef game legendary. Round the globe. Soul food. Make your whole crew vibrate. So come through the Drop Squad and get your live plate. It's unapologetically healthy food. That's about when you investing in yourself. Come to my place. Drop Squad. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Nice.
Oh, hi, Kamisha.
I did catch that, by the way.
Oh, I think that's a good idea. I feel like this is my lane. And when I get to have other people, I'll have other people and everything. But thank you all for tuning in. Be that likeness, color, curiosity, Sudi Ali. Oh, snap. We taking it all the way back to college. I love it. I thank everybody. Y'all give me love. Y'all give me strength. All right. Hey, y'all see I'm representing Lola Soul Lala. Oh,
Isn't she the best, everybody?
No, I am a reflection. That is what I am.
She is the best.
I am a reflection. All right. Thank you, John Carr. Thank you, Anana Tawa. Thank you, WJVS. Thank you, Makai Faison. Thank you, Miara Bay. All right.
Every time we'll get it together.
Yes.
I was hoping doing this way would at least give y'all a little more better feeling about being. I'm out of your way. You can do
Yeah.
you.
I just need to learn the more because it seems like you're only doing two things.
Yeah. But once it gets going, it's only two things. The trick I was talking to my man is that. So there's a cutout that when he plays music, if you go to talk, it'll cut out.
Okay.
Radio Land hears it just fine,
Mm-hmm.
but you would just hear this abrupt. You'd be like, boom, boom. You go to say something like, boom, boom, and you'd be like, and I've noticed it catches people, so we don't use it. I turn it off.
All right.
But the flip side, the bad side of that is, I just have to balance out. That's why every now you hear a little. Ooh. I try to balance that while you're talking because the mic is now picking up the music too.
And I got to figure out what to do with this part. I got to say peace to everybody. I like tripping.
So it'll work. It's just, if you notice, we didn't have too many of those woo moments because I already know. I try to leave it on so you can hear the music, but technically, when y'all talking, you don't need any volume in here. You just talking to each other. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
And the radio land is getting what it needs. But once we start turning it up and music is on, now the mics are trying to take the music and reprocess it, and then you get that feedback. So we're trying to work through it. It's just one of the little goofy parts of music and talk.
Yeah. All right, so peace and love, y'all. I know this is the after party. It's the after party.
After party. Lips, tongue, and teeth.
You are so okay. This is when we end, y'all.